Hey guys, welcome to our first ever episode to this brand new podcast we know as Sammy and Eric in a galaxy far, far away. We are going to be your hosts, Sammy and my good friend.
Yep, hello there. Eric over here.
So, we decided to do this because we love Star Wars so much and we wanted to give you guys some content about that thing we love that much. So, since this is our first episode, we wanted to do a sort of introduction, something to let you guys know a little bit more about what we do and who we are. So, let's talk a little bit about how this idea came, the origin of the idea. So, we have had various projects throughout our lives, gaming projects and stuff like that, but they didn't quite turn out the way we expected. They really did not. Right now we have projects in areas such as music, art, and those are actually working, even academic stuff. But we've never actually tried to do something related to Star Wars, which is our favorite franchise ever. And it's random Sunday night, we don't sleep. It's not really in our agenda to sleep. We were talking and out of nowhere I just come up with this idea and I was like, hey dude, how about if we do a Star Wars podcast since we love it so much? And Eric, well, he agreed and that's why we were here
Definitely
today.
caught me by surprise.
Yeah, it was an idea that really came out of nowhere.
It's weird that we haven't had this idea before.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
It is very weird, but well, we're here now and we will be here for as long as we can do so.
Yeah, I mean, and what will we be doing on this podcast? Well, I mean, it's a podcast. It's pretty obvious. We will be having episodes uploaded weekly about different topics related to Star Wars whatsoever. Everything related to Star Wars, movies, even stuff about video games, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
We might.
related to Star Wars.
As long as it is related to Star Wars, we will talk about it here.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to do a quick apologize. Guys, I really do apologize for the quality. I know this is not the best, and it was, we were planning on making it a little bit better. We were actually gonna kind of screen record it, but it didn't quite turn out as we expected. And now I'm using my phone, recording my iPad. We're using Zoom because we cannot go outside right now. We cannot meet each other. And I have neighbors. I also have a lot of stuff, that may not give you the best hearing experience, but it will get better.
But it will get better, hopefully. Thanks to you guys. If you support us, listen to our podcast weekly, we will definitely improve.
Exactly.
Have, better equipment.
It's completely up to you guys.
Better. Yeah.
If you want us to become better, all you have to do is literally hear us talk about Star Wars, and we will promise you guys this is not going to be a boring podcast. You guys are going to get very
we're trying to
entertained.
get interesting topics.
Exactly. Today's topic is actually very interesting. We're going to get a lot of controversy, which makes it even
very
more
controversial.
But before we get into that, we want to start out with a quick verse, a Bible verse that is. Since we are both believers, we are both Christians, we wanted to give you guys a quick verse of the day. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe, it really doesn't. We believe in Jesus, we don't believe in religion. Religion is really what we think is dividing people.
Yeah, we don't care about what religion you are from here.
Exactly. All we believe in is that Jesus saved us, and this is what we will believe forever and ever, and that's what we will be talking about as our gospel. But this doesn't even matter if you're an atheist. It's never bad to listen to a quick word of faith, a quick word to lift your spirits up. So in 1 John 3:18 in the New International Version, it says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." That's an absolute amen right there. So what this verse is saying is that we can say stuff like, "Oh, I love you," or this. I can even go up to my friend Eric right now and say, "Dude, I love you, man, and I can do that, but that's not really showing any love. Because I might say that, and then out of nowhere, I start treating him bad or start bullying him for some instance. On the other hand, if you treat someone with love, they will actually, you will actually be showing love, and therefore they're going to be loving you back. This does not only apply for believers such as us, this applies for literally anyone who
Yeah, it
wants to
just
be a good
applies
person.
to anyone, you know. If you like being called a good friend, don't be a traitor.
Exactly. Just demonstrate love, and I'll guarantee you're gonna receive that love back. Well, now that that has been said, let's go on into the point of this video, the reason why you clicked here. So you've probably read the title, and if you haven't, we are going to explain anyways. So today we are going to be talking about why does the prequel trilogy get so much hate. And right off the bat, this is an extremely controversial topic to start the channel with. This is a very hard thing to talk about. But here we are. Because we really got the idea of making this video because all of the people in Instagram and YouTube, you can always see this one person ranting about the prequel trilogy and saying, oh, the prequel trilogy is bad, or this and this and that. And it's kind of annoying. I mean, what do you think, Eric? Is it annoying or is it not?
Yeah, it's annoying. You always get wars, that's part of it, but yeah, there's just people that don't analyze, the whole thing.
Exactly, they don't go deep into
Yeah.
it. And that's why we are here today. We are gonna actually give you valid reasons of why the prequel trilogy gets the hate it gets. Now, before we go any further...
Yeah, this is no mean for wars,
Exactly.
It's just our opinion, but yeah.
And before we go any further, I do want to mention we personally don't hate the prequel trilogy. As a matter of fact, we really like it. But we will not get into much detail until later on in this video. So let's start with the 4 reasons why we think that the prequel trilogy gets the hate it gets. The first reason being the writing. The writing in the prequel trilogy, it's really not that good, if not being completely bad. I mean, we have a lot of plot flaws, we have a lot of things that don't make sense,
Yeah, you have a lot
enough.
of unnecessary plots.
Exactly. And sometimes, we have necessary plots, but in a certain way, they've been turning necessary simply because some things that you add that make it irrelevant. I don't know if I that quite got understand it.
It's very random and just unnecessary, just plain unnecessary plots.
Exactly,
Just
plain
add
unnecessary.
time to the movie.
And a great example of the bad writing, which does not only apply for stuff like the plot, but it also applies to the understanding of the viewer. And 2 examples that I want to point out of this bad writing is Count Dooku. We really don't know anything about Count Dooku whatsoever. Like, if you went to the movie theater expecting you were gonna learn about him, no, you don't know anything. All we know is that he was once a Jedi, and now he's a Sith. Deal with it. Take it or leave it. That's all you get.
Because you see him, at least in canon, you see, Darth Tyrannus, he was trained by Yoda, and you see the whole story about him. And, he's so OP, and you see how he turns to the dark side, with such a long story, and in the movie, he's just a villain there, and you get no explanation of his origin or nothing.
Yeah, and that's pretty sad. And another example about the bad writing we can find in Leia's. Oh my God, I said Leia. Padme. We're alive, people. Those things happen, but. Padme and Anakin's relationship, it really had no sort of coherence. Because at one moment, I love you. Oh no, I really don't. Oh wait, but I do love you, but I don't want to love you. And then you close and open your eyes and they're already kissing in a pile of monsters.
Yeah, it was just very confusing. That's the thing about the prequel trilogy. You have these characters and it's so difficult to understand what they really want.
Like, of course we know what Anakin wants. Ever since he was a little child, the first thing he said, are you an angel?
Yeah,
We always
Yeah,
knew,
but
but
most of
Padme
the
is really what makes it
characters,
difficult.
like in the whole prequel trilogy, they're like complicated to understand as a character overall. Like, what do
Exactly.
they want? Like,
And the bad writing really doesn't help. It really doesn't.
yeah. Another thing that you know we can mention here is the characters. It has a lot of unnecessary characters. I mean, not a lot of them, but it has
It
plenty
definitely has
of,
some.
and we can mention some, starting with Jar Jar Binks, obviously. Jar Jar
Misa
Binks,
is offended. Misa not like.
it has gotten a lot of hate on the media. His voice, he's annoying. He interrupts the main conversations. He's just there. And I mean, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate in the future.
But hear him out. Hear him out, guys.
A lot of people are. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are going to say, "Oh, technically he helped save Naboo with his army." Blah blah blah. I know, okay, but I mean, for the only movie in which I think I think people can agree he has an important, duty and just helps Naboo really is an Attack of the Clones.
That's right.
The rest of it, he's just there. I mean,
and maybe at the ending of the Phantom Menace, in which he's like with the whole army of the Bings and stuff. But honestly, other than that,
and I mean, in the Clone Wars, I mean, he's a full-on character, like in the Clone Wars. But at least in the prequel trilogy, he's just there most of the time. He's just an annoying character on the side. Another character that, well, it's not useless at all, but in the movie it seems like he's useless. It's Mace Windu, because
hear him out, guys. Please don't go down in the
at
comments
least in
saying
the
Mace
movies-
Windu is important. Please let him explain. Let him explain, please, and thank you.
Yeah, no, because I mean, obviously people are going, he's on the Jedi Council and everything. I mean, I know he's on the Jedi Council, and every member of the Jedi Council is very important. But for the most part of the movie, he's just there. I mean, he's the only one that speaks most of the time with Yoda. Yoda's like the main one that you see in the Jedi Council. And, he ends up dying anyway in the movie, in the third one, so.
And it is sad how, the only important thing that Mace Windu did was dying. It is kind of misleading.
And Mace Windu actually has, a very, a long story, with even the color of his lightsaber. And
yeah, it's one of the rarest kyber
movies,
crystals.
In the movies, you don't know anything about, about the rest of the Jedi Council. The only one you know about a little bit is Yoda. I mean,
exactly.
But, yeah.
But well, I guess we will have to deal with that.
Yeah, and another one, this one's not useless at all. But for the most part of the movie, she's just there for Anakin, and for the sake of the plot, is Padme.
That's
she's
true.
not useless at all, because obviously he gave birth to Luke and Leia, so.
Exactly, she's not useless. She's simply not accomplishing the big role that she has on top of her.
Yeah.
Well,
she's just there to give birth to them. Honestly.
Pretty much, and it's kind of sexist.
I know that sounds mean, but
No, exactly. That also goes back to the problem in the writing. It's kind of sexist, but thank God we got the Clone Wars, and we got a deeper side, and we got to know Padme way better.
Yeah.
And by the way,
has a lot of stuff.
We love the Clone Wars, and we will soon be doing an episode on it.
We will do an episode on the Clone Wars.
So now that we have the unnecessary characters, that's not the only unnecessary part about the prequel trilogy, since we also have unnecessary dialogue. From the bad jokes to the cringy stuff, and all around the bad things they talk about. It's confusing, annoying, and simply
Yeah, it
misleading.
really has a lot of unnecessary dialogue. That's true.
And I mean, some of you might say, "Oh no, you're just hating," because there are a lot of movies and a lot of stuff that have unnecessary dialogue. I get it, but it is annoying when that
Yeah,
unnecessary dialogue
that's part of it,
continues
but
and
coupled
keeps on.
with the unnecessary writing, it just adds, unnecessary stuff and even
Mm-hmm.
boring stuff to the movie. So
Yeah, exactly, and it's pretty frustrating. I need to say, it's pretty frustrating. But you know what? We ended
and
up watching it anyways.
yeah, another thing. Well, I think this is a big debate, but
Mm-hmm.
most people can agree with me. Is Darth Maul? It's
Mm-hmm.
just Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace, because oh my God, how
The
can I
truth
say
is that
this?
we can make an entire
Darth Maul.
episode on the Phantom Menace. That's simply the reality.
Yeah, we can just make we can just make a whole podcast about Darth Maul. 'Cause he is an awesome character, and he is
Yeah, he
very
truly is.
insanely powerful. Trained even by Palpatine. And he has such a long story. Such a backstory, and in the movie, you don't see anything, about him. This, and what angers each and every fan, each and every Star Wars fan at least, is that in the Phantom Menace, he only appears for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 50 minutes and the final fight. That's about it.
Yeah. And I mean, he doesn't die, because obviously we get.
Exactly, we get the Clone Wars and Rebels and all that stuff.
Yeah, you see how he survives and everything, and all this stuff with his brother, but at least in the movie, he died.
Exactly, for the
And
sake of the movie.
and it was painful, because such a powerful character, such a monster in lightsaber combat, and he just
He just died. He just left us too young.
Yeah. Just came and left in the movie, and he didn't appear anymore.
It's like that one John Mayer song. She comes and goes. She comes.
It's like Boba Fett.
Exactly.
Boba Fett is an amazing bounty hunter, and in the movie, he's just shit.
I mean, not that much, honestly. Like Boba Fett in the prequel trilogy, yes, like he was a kid, but in the sequel trilogy, they actually got very deep into him.
Yeah, but I mean, according, like to his appearance, like in the big screen, it wasn't that,
I mean, true. Yeah, you do have a point there. Well, now that we have talked about the 4 reasons of why we think that the prequel trilogy gained so much hate, let's talk about the reasons why it shouldn't get that hate. Because at the end of the day, the prequel trilogy is actually a good bunch of movies. It really is. And it might seem like we extremely hated with those 4 things, but we're just simply being honest. We are admitting that the films aren't perfect.
You still end up getting like a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what you develop with this trilogy. But the first point I have of why you shouldn't hate the prequel trilogy, it's because of its fandom. And let me explain on that. A big part of the Star Wars fandom, I don't really want to say a percentage or a number, because I really don't exactly know. But I am pretty sure that at least 95% of today's Star Wars fandom was developed thanks for the prequel trilogy. And that is because many people
there's a big part of the whole fandom of Star Wars that, were inspired when they saw, Revenge of the Sith. That movie was amazing. And, most of the Star Wars fans, you talk to them and they give you, they either grew up in the beginnings of the 2000s, I grew up seeing, Revenge of the Sith, and that movie inspired me, it got me more into Star Wars, and, That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It truly isn't. It's exactly in the lines of what Eric is saying right now. Uh, we are an example. Like we started out in the world of
Yeah.
Star Wars with the prequel trilogy since we were
Yeah,
kids.
the prequel trilogy. I grew up watching, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Phantom Menace, and it got me more into Star Wars.
Yeah, it really did. And that's what motivated me to actually move forward to watch the original trilogy and all the other stuff that it had ahead for us. And honestly, it was a huge part of what makes Star Wars fans of Star Wars, if it makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, another reason, that I think why it shouldn't get that hate, obviously, it's the great story. And, that's not for you to mix it with the whole unnecessary plot, unnecessary dialogue thing. It's just about the story. It constitutes a great, story on the timeline.
Exactly,
And
like in
without
general,
it,
it is
we
very
wouldn't
great.
understand, even 50% of what happened before the Battle of Yavin. Even so,
Exactly.
and it has a great story. The prequel trilogy, in its own right, it's just an explanation of origins.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
to be honest, Star Wars did it pretty good. George Lucas actually did it right. Because when you see a lot of people trying to do prequels of their movies, they really don't explain much of their sequels. And knowing how George Lucas actually managed to do such a great work, I really like that. And of course, as my good friend Eric said,
it is a greatly structured.
exactly, it's greatly
trilogy.
structured.
And he got united with a lot of real Star Wars fans to do the movie, and a lot of characters that were on the comics that people didn't even know about. Take for example General Grievous. They got him to the big screen, and that's amazing. I mean, it was done by real fans.
Exactly.
So.
And like my good friend Eric said, this is not to be mixed up with it having plot flaws and anything. Like, for example, oh, you're saying it explains it well, but you also said they didn't explain the backstories of certain characters. That is because what we're talking about in this matter, it's about the explanation of why, when you see the original trilogy, that being, of course, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, you see a galaxy that's full of war, full of corruption, but you really don't know where this whole thing came from. And when you see the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, you will understand where this whole dilemma comes from. And it does it very well. It's a very good job explaining this. Now, another point into what makes Star Wars prequel trilogy so great is gonna be mentioned right now by my friend Eric.
Yeah, it's just the essence of Star Wars. The essence is the most important thing of the movies. And they have everything that makes a Star Wars movie a Star Wars movie. It has a lot of Star Wars elements, and at the same time, it gets coupled with the elements of a great movie. It has sad moments. It has moments that give you a lot of anger. It has romance. It has drama. It has action. It has everything coupled with the great elements of that make a Star Wars movie a Star Wars movie. And that's mainly the reason that it gathered so much fans. It brought so much fans to the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty much that last reason right there pretty much sums up what we've been talking about all this while. Now, let me clarify something real quick. The one that was expected to say that last part was me, but I wanted Eric to say it because he actually has very good points on it. He actually has very good points in that area. Because, yeah, the whole reason why Star Wars is Star Wars is in fact because of the prequel trilogy and what it brought
Yeah,
to us.
it just has so much, it just has a lot of characters, and it has one of the best parts of the whole Star Wars timeline. And it
Mm-hmm.
just, that mixed with the whole, all the elements that are very Star Wars-ish, and the elements of a great movie, romance, action, the sadness of some parts, it's just amazing. I mean, it's like every Star Wars movie. Every Star Wars movie, I mean, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but any Star Wars movie is great, but in its own right. And
That's
you know,
absolutely right.
there's no better way of saying it.
Wow, that's actually very true. Yeah, that's actually very true, and I've never seen it that way, honestly. Like every Star Wars movie is good in its own right. That's completely true. And I know this video is not about the sequel trilogy, but you said
I
that,
mean,
and it kind of
that's
reminds me.
excluding The Last Jedi.
No, no, no. Of course, it
You know.
excludes the Last Jedi, of course. But which by the way, we will talk about the sequel trilogy in the future. I won't say it's near, because that one is very controversial. We will get on that topic later on. Later on in the future, I mean, not in this episode. No, no, no. Don't get confused, my friends. But yeah, he brought a very valid point. Because even at the moments that we might, nah, this movie was bad, it has something on it. It has that little spark that made you smile. That little spark that made you feel like a fan. And really,
Yeah, it just makes you say when you end up watching the movie for the first time or something, you just end up saying, "Wow, I didn't actually waste 2 hours and 20 minutes of my whole life."
exactly. Those were
They're actually great.
very wisely spent 2 hours and 20 minutes. That could turn into 4 hours and 40 minutes and eventually into 6 minutes with, and it goes on and so forth because they're
I mean,
such great movies.
The Phantom Menace is a bit boring.
Yeah,
And I
it
think most
is.
people can agree on that because it's mostly politics, and the only moment in which you come to see a real, badass fight with actually good choreography is in the last scene. The battle between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul.
But even if
they're
it,
great,
exactly, even if it was such a not fun movie, if we didn't get the Phantom Menace, we wouldn't have gotten Anakin Skywalker. So even in that small aspect, the movie does get a job well done. Well,
yeah, and the Phantom Menace, it just explains the whole political scenario,
mhm.
and the whole galaxy, so you can understand what all the plot of the second one and even the third one, for the most part, is about. So.
I find that a lot of Star Wars fans become extreme fans of politics. Things of the Phantom Menace, like we know what a senator is, we know what a chancellor is, we know what a king is and a queen, and each importance.
Yeah, it's just part of it. If you're a Star Wars fan to a certain point, you either understand or like politics.
Yeah, because it's really a big part of it.
At least that's why I don't find Star Wars so boring like other people. There's people saying, "Oh, they're so long," and lack of action, and I don't like the movie. They're so boring. I've never watched even a complete movie. But I mean, to a certain point, you need to like politics, or at least understand them, to get the most part of the whole plot.
Mm-hmm. And that is completely right. And those are our 3 reasons why you shouldn't hate the prequel trilogy. And I really think you shouldn't hate anything Star Wars unless it is The Last Jedi. Let's be honest here. But as for the rest, you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. Well, to conclude all of this conversation that we've had, Eric, what's your opinion on the prequel trilogy?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, I love the prequel trilogy, and I mean, I know that sounds, very weird regarding the topic that we decided to talk about in this first episode, but I really do like it because, I give a big thanks to the whole prequel trilogy because it was in fact what brought me into Star Wars. I mean, I grew up. The first movies I saw were the prequel trilogy. I'm not gonna lie, but and they were the one that brought me into Star Wars. You know, my favorite Star Wars movie is Empire Strikes Back, but I still look back on the first, 3 movies of the whole timeline, and I say, wow, those are great movies. I mean, they have, their mistakes, but they're just great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have such a high concentration of everything in just one movie. The lightsaber battles are even better because obviously better CGI. We were already heading into the 2000s when they came out, and they were just better, at least in CGI. The battles, and it has, each movie is just great, and it's all right. I mean, but I do to answer your question, I do. I do love the prequel trilogy. I mean, it's what got me into Star Wars. So
That's pretty much my opinion as well. When it comes down to it, Star Wars wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for the prequel trilogy, and that is honestly how I see it, and that's how I feel like a lot of people should see it. Because honestly, the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, the prequel trilogy just has so much. It explains so much.
Exactly, and
it explains so much for people who only saw the original trilogy. It explains everything, and it expanded the fandom like crazy.
Exactly,
also.
And it goes far beyond the only explanation. We also get like such a big level of detail in every episode. As you said, the CGI in here is way better, and of course it has some flaws on it. But honestly, everything has flaws. But if you learn to like go over them, it really is a very pleasant experience. And my opinion in general
the
for
thing
the
about
movies
these
is great.
movies, at least the prequel trilogy, is that there were like 2 generations that were born right there, watching those movies, and it just inspired a whole generation. Because I mean, the kids who were born in the early 90s, that must have been a blast,
Exactly.
for those kids. And the movies came out at the right time.
And it was honestly, if you think about it, it was very like well thought out. Like the releases of it were very thought out. Like 1999, the most childish movie of the prequel trilogy, The Phantom Menace. The fans were gonna be kids. They were gonna be very young, and they were actually gonna aim towards that movie and enjoy it. Then in 2001, 2 years later, they have the Attack on the Clones. It's a little bit rougher, a little bit darker, if you might put it that way. But the fans are also expecting something better since they are older. And then we get Revenge of the Sith at 2005, that is 4 years after, which they are pretty much mature already, and they can get a mature movie. And they know Star Wars and love Star Wars because they've grown up with Star Wars. And honestly, that's what made them love it so much.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, a big part of the fandom grew up,
Like literally grew up with
those
Star Wars.
Movies.
And to sum up our opinion, I say our because I'm pretty sure it's both of our opinion. The prequel trilogy is far from perfect. It is far from perfect, but it is definitely
far
great.
from perfect, but it is great.
Exactly.
I mean, it is great.
Definitely great, and it's definitely worth watching for anyone out there who hasn't done it yet.
And I'm not going to get into a fight because everyone has their reasons, at least, to hate the movie.
Exactly. This was entirely our opinion, guys. Entirely.
Yeah, but I mean, you shouldn't hate it because you should acknowledge, as a Star Wars fan, that it did so much for Star Wars. I mean, it explained the fans, those who loved the original trilogy. It explained so much to them, and at the same time, it expanded the fandom.
Mm-hmm. Well, with all of that being said, I think that about wraps it up for today's episode, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching. I mean, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for both. Really, like, we really appreciate you guys being here, and if you made it up all the way up to here, mwah, kisses. We love you guys immersively. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share with friends and family so you can support us, and we can get more viewers and more people. Not for fame. We don't care about the fame. No, what we want is to get better equipment so we can give you better content.
To make a good podcast.
Exactly. We simply want to give you guys the best we can get you, because if we love Star Wars the same way you love it, we want to give you the best.
And most important of all of this, comment down below.
Yeah, totally.
In a podcast, the comments are very important, because you are the ones who can give us ideas. You can, even if we left out something in this very episode, leave it in the comments. Because everyone has a different opinion, obviously. But if if there's something that you think was left out and you think that needs to be added because you think that, that is a very good reason why it should be hated or it should not be hated, we'll leave it down below. It will help us a lot.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions of what should we do in future episodes, you may also leave those down below.
Yeah.
Well, without anything else to say, again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all, and may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Always. Thank you, guys.